Welcome to Staffing Stories, hosted by Andy Moss. Andy has been in the staffing industry for over 25 years, first as a recruiter, then eventually an account manager and business owner. This is the podcast where we sit down with fellow staffing owners to get the real stories of the successes, the failures, and the lessons learned along the way.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Andy Moss with Staffing Stories. And over the past couple of years, this has been a blast for me to be able to talk to individuals that are in our industry, especially the key leaders. And my guest to my side is Mr. David Barthel. He's the VP of Sales from AkkenCloud and a good friend of mine. And I've invited him to come on and talk today. Dave, welcome.
Thanks, Andy. Really looking forward to it.
All right, let's jump right into it. Kind of introduce yourself to individuals that may not know who you are or have seen you walk the floors of about every ASA and SIA function in our industry.
Yeah, so I've been in the staffing industry almost 30 years. I spent 27 years of my life with the Allegis family of companies and really enjoyed that. Moved over to really the HR tech side and then staffing technology. And I'm currently VP of Sales for AkkenCloud. Been there about a year and really enjoying it. Kind of had an interesting start to my career. Out of college, I started selling auto glass. My wife was getting her master's degree, and I was in her basement on a Sunday. She was my girlfriend at the time. I was in her basement on a Sunday, and I was just waiting for the football game to start. Big Lions fan, and I was reading the newspaper, and I actually saw an ad in the newspaper for Aerotech back then, and walked over to a typewriter, typed up a resume, sent it in Baltimore, and 2 weeks later I was in recruiter training in Baltimore. I had no idea what staffing was. I was familiar with the office clerical type staffing a little bit, but that was really all I knew at the time. So joined up and instantly fell in love with it because it's a people business. You got to talk to people, you got to build relationships. And it was, kind of the beginning of the rocket ship of staffing, if you will.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So that's how I started.
So you got to explain to everybody what a typewriter is and also what a newspaper is.
Seriously, I know. I'm a dinosaur, buddy.
That is, and you actually had to type it up.
Yeah.
Did you have to fax it in or drop it off?
No, I mailed it in. Nailed
it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's even slower. It's amazing that you get into like technology and you're like, golly day. I mean, that was just 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I had a pager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so old that when you got a pager, that meant you were a big deal in the company.
Yeah.
You were somebody important. You wore it with pride.
I wore it with pride. The flip phone also.
Absolutely.
Well, let's dive into some topics around, technology. I think I look at you as an expert in some of this, I guess this new emerging tech in our world, especially around the sales and recruiting piece. Give us some insight to what you've seen and kind of what you're hearing and, changes that it's made in our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of being a dinosaur, you think about like just doing an expense report. We used to have to tape our expenses to a sheet of paper and send it into corporate. And you think about all the noise that came out of that. I think technology is super exciting. I think it's absolutely important. And I think there's so many different aspects to technology. You have bits of technology that make up a tech stack that can really help a recruiter be great. What's really interesting and, is the whole AI piece, right? I'm a big fan of AI. I think it's really an interesting topic. But I'm not convinced that AI is going to make a massive impact, other than I'm going to give you one caveat. It's not going to make a massive impact on the recruiting industry. And what I mean by that is the act of recruiting. I think it's really around intelligent automation. And if you can automate some of those processes that recruiters don't like to do, they're not good at, and this is the same thing for on the sales side of things, they're not good at, they don't like to do, that they look at as time wasters, then you get some wins there. And I think what's going to happen is it's going to cause a shift. Your top performers will become ultra top performers, and those that are just trying to hang on are probably going to fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
Because if you can give a recruiter an hour, 2 hours back in their day, and they can be productive, if you can give a salesperson an hour or two back in their day, and they can utilize that time to build relationships, to prospect, to do the things that recruiters and salespeople love to do, that's a massive win for the organization. It's a massive win for the individual, and it's going to propel them to greatness. And if you're struggling, automation is not necessarily going to help you, because, AI or intelligent automation is a great thing, but it's not necessarily purpose built for recruiting. And I don't see it ever really changing the magic formula of being great in recruiting or staffing or selling.
One of the things that I always teach my recruiters and sales reps is the value of time.
Yep.
Because you can't get that back. And you've got to build into your day time periods to recruit, time periods to sell, but also with some of this technology, like you said, you can get better value of that time spent.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where, if you're a leader in your organization, that's when you're looking at tech and evaluating tech, is where does it fall in that line of value of time? If it can't give your high performers an extra hour somewhere, extra two, that's an extra hour or two on the phone or with a customer or on the road. And just the mundane things we had to do as recruiters, leaving notes, touching base with, candidates over time. I mean, now with automation, you can drip emails to them that keeps them in the loop in the process of the entire recruiting process.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that one of the things I love about my current role and the product that we have is it does automate a lot of the mundane, and it helps recruiters put that focus where it needs to be, which is on relationships, which is on driving performance. And, we have a thing called paperless onboarding, right? Recruiters hate paperwork, right? Yeah. It's not what they're made for. It's not part of, their natural skill set in general. But if you can take all of that away from them, and literally they can push a button, and that candidate or that potential candidate gets all the information that they need to get onboarded, and that customer knows that everything's been completed and it's all trackable, that's a win for that recruiter, right? They can go to that next job. And, we all know that, high performance people want to do great things. They want to keep pushing that envelope. So if you can give them back that time, right, that's where the value is. That's why, I refer to it as, put the focus on intelligent automation. Don't worry about the AI, because a chatbot's never going to replace a relationship.
No. And I think it's keeping your potential candidate in the loop. And, where we lose candidates is after they say they accept the job and then before they start. Yeah. And if you're not touching base with them or, giving an email of where they're going the first day, those are things where automation can really help, is that keeping them in the system, in the know, so they don't, because we all know they get job offers after they accept ours.
Sure.
Because if they're a top candidate, they're going to do that. So the more you are a recruiter or sales rep and talking to them and engaging with them, it keeps them in the system.
Yep. I'm so old, Andy. We used to meet every person on their first day and walk them in and introduce them to the hiring manager. Remember those days?
Yes. But those are things that are timeless. I don't care if it was back then or now. To meet a candidate and actually introduce them on their first day is such a service that our industry has kind of gotten away from a little bit. And it kind of goes into the value of time. At that time that you can say, make sure A, they get there, B, they're meeting the right person. If there's a problem, you're right there to handle it.
Yeah, absolutely right. but also, you know, being able to automate that. If they can get a pop-up, if they can get a text, if they can get an email with a link to, you know, Google Maps or whatever map
Yep.
you want to use, and they know when they're supposed to be there, who they're supposed to ask for, it takes all that guesswork out. You know, people have anxiety over that kind of stuff. Like, you know, what do they call them? The Sunday scaries. You're starting a new job on Monday, and if you haven't been communicated to yet, that's going to make you nervous, right? How long is it going to take me to get there? You know, things like simplifying things that were once hard. Technology can really lend a hand there. But I also agree that that's where relationships are forged. And, you know, those are some of the things that, you know, we were trained to do back in the day that I think still hold value and are still purposeful.
So if you're a small business owner or a medium-sized business owner, and you're evaluating technology, you're evaluating ATSs, the key things that I would recommend someone do is making sure the ATS has these things either baked in or access to automation, because those are the things that are future in our industry. And if the ATS you're looking at doesn't have that or able to attach to something that does, you're going to miss out. That's where you're going to get beat from all the other agencies that do have that.
Oh, 100%. You know, and you said it, value of time, right? So if you're popping in and out of 15 different systems to get your job done, it's not efficient.
Yeah.
You know, look for something that is end to end. So how is it on the front office side, the actual recruiting job? How is it from a sales perspective with the CRM? What does it look like from a middle office perspective? You know, time and invoicing, back office, you know, can you find platforms that can really help, you know, especially on, you know, if you're, you know, let's say a growing business, call them, you know, in that middle space, you know, do I have a lot of redundancy in my platforms, or should I, you know, stick to one that's going to help drive that efficiency for me?
So have you seen any tech out there that's really got your eye or attention that either connects with your ATS or you've seen that's connected to others, or what, you know, what's kind of the hot topic that you've kind of looked at?
Yeah, we've really done a lot with our partner network. You know, in the last, you know, let's call it year. One is Ringover. We've really got a solid partnership with Ringover, and you know, what Ringover does for our platform is pretty impressive, from being able to stay in the ATS, do everything that you need to do, get some analytics on how things are going. We're really impressed with that platform. Another one is a really unique platform that I just think is a massive value add for our customers, and it's called Hire Gains.
Mm-hmm.
You know, staffing companies are all about differentiation, right? And what Hire Gains does is within 6 minutes, it's going to tell you if that person's a good fit. And it's really more around culturally, are they going to be a good fit? Do they fit the team? Do the values align? And 6 minutes with the hiring manager and 6 minutes with the candidate, you're going to get a great understanding of where they may need some help and where they're going to excel. You know, and if I'm a staffing company and I'm looking to differentiate myself amongst the other 20,000 staffing companies out there, having technology like that is, I think, a massive differentiation.
Well, it's always interesting to see these companies and what they tackle, and, you know, using algorithms and listening to conversations. I know a lot of them now listen to the interview, and use AI, and they also listen to the candidate talk to the recruiter, and they kind of merge those things and start helping you make better matches, because that's where our success comes from in our industry. Is we're matchmakers.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of time we're hiring young recruiters that have never had to match make. And you don't have the luxury of having 25, 30 years like we have to be able to have that gut feeling of he or she said the right thing. This was a red flag. This was a green flag, you know, and using these tools to kind of make a young recruiter speed up their evolution in our world is huge. Because, I mean, we are still in the young man's sport of recruiting.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and that's another area where I think automation plays a key role. You know, if you're searching for a Java developer, because everybody uses Java developer for the examples for everything, and you're a brand new recruiter and you see Java on their resume, you're going to get excited. But if technology can help you find out of those 1,000 candidates in your database that have Java in the resume to that 50 candidates that actually have applicable skills for the actual job, you're off to a way faster start, right? So taking a recruiter, especially a new recruiter, and giving them the opportunity to hone in on who are the first people I should call about this role is going to help them win faster, give them time back in their day, and build better relationships, because then they start to understand, if the technology shows its work and says, this is why we think you should call these 50 people first, that's going to help train that recruiter down the line for, the much tougher requirements that they see on a day in, day out basis.
So let's talk roadmap, with your system or whatever you see in the roadmap of our industry. Are there things you're working on that, that are coming through the pipe now that you think are exciting or you see?
Yeah, there's a couple things that actually we should have a webinar scheduled in the next couple of weeks on that I'm really excited about. One is an integration with ChatGPT. So, back to the AI conversation, but again, it's not replacing the recruiter. It's enhancing what a recruiter does on a day in, day out basis. So, what I just talked about, job to candidate matching, candidate to job matching. If you've got candidates sitting in your system and a job comes up and you can say, hey, this person's qualified, we already know the candidate, call them first, that's a win. Helping with job descriptions, enhancing job descriptions, being able to do that with a click of a button is going to help you get more qualified candidates into the pipeline. So we're really excited about our integration with ChatGPT and what that's going to do for our platform and really for our users.
Well, all this is great information, and you're such a wealth of knowledge. We could probably talk for hours and hours on end about this, but I always kind of wrap up with my guests and say, okay, if you're streaming videos or shows, what's the one David's always watching?
Ooh, man, I'm a big fan of Jack Carr. His books are really good. So he did the Terminal List, and there's a new Terminal List coming out. Anything that is in the Drive to Survive, Full Swing, I'm a big fan of that. My wife and I just started watching Shogun. I don't think I recommend it yet, though.
Yeah, I've gotten 3/4 of the way of Shogun.
Okay.
I'm 50-50 on it.
It's hard to follow the characters in that one.
Yeah, and you're reading it, you're not watching it.
That's true. That's true.
Well, David, I appreciate your time spending with me this morning and just kind of talking through some of this tech. And where can they reach you? I know you're on LinkedIn, or is there any way they can
LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm D Barthel at AkkenCloud. Feel free to reach out to me, and really appreciate your time, Andy. I think what you're doing with Staffing Stories is a really cool thing. I was excited for the opportunity to talk to you today and really appreciate it.
Well, I'm always looking for guests. So if you're listening, you want to get on Staffing Stories, get in the hot seat, hit me up.
We'll make some recommendations for you.
All right. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks for tuning into the episode. Staffing Stories is brought to you by 3DIQ. We are the future of staffing sales. Our solutions are designed to supercharge your sales and 3x placements, all without ever leaving Bullhorn. Direct market, deliver talent, and drive sales with our all-in-one tool designed for the modern recruiter. Visit 3diq.com/stories to learn more. Find Staffing Stories on LinkedIn, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts.